This program today is committed to helping you to understand, number one, Islamic Sharia law regarding a Muslim who leaves the Islamic faith and becomes a Christian or whatever. And number two, the folly, the wishful thinking, the Pollyanna thinking of President Obama, and I'm tempted to say the sheer idiocy of some of his statements. I want to play this one clip just to prove my point about the idiocy of what he's saying and how he is deliberately deceiving the American public. Please play the clip.
And governments have a role to play. At minimum, as a basic first step, countries have a responsibility to cut off funding that fuels hatred and corrupts young minds and endangers us all.
All right. Frankly, I agree with what he said. All right, we do want to defend the ability of people to leave their faith, to practice no faith, to convert, to discuss it. But he knows that our number one Arab ally, Saudi Arabia, will kill people, execute them for doing what he said. Freedom of religion means that you can do nothing. It means you can convert from one religion to another. It means you can publicly proclaim what you believe. It means that you can publicly say what you don't believe. That you can say, I don't believe Muhammad was a prophet. I think he was a false prophet. Jesus is the Son of God. That's what it means, freedom of religion. Under Islamic law, no such thing as freedom of religion exists. And I'm going to show you today from Islamic sources, okay? Now, in Saudi Arabia, there was a Reuters story that was released a couple days ago, and it said that the strict Wahhabi sect is what governs Saudi law, and that theologians and imams are the ones who control the judiciary. It's simply not true. It's not true. Let me read to you some portions of the Saudi Arabian constitution. And then I'm going to read to you, in the next segment, I'm going to read to you the 4 schools of thought on what to do with a Muslim who leaves his Muslim faith. An apostate is what they call him. All right? In the Saudi Arabian constitution, it says the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is a sovereign Arab Islamic state with Islam as its religion, God's book, that's the Quran, and the Sunnah of his prophet. The Sunnah, as I've told you before, is another word for the Hadith, or another word for the traditions of the Prophet. That means, and I'm saying traditions of the Prophet in quotes, it means the things that Muhammad did and Muhammad said, or where he held his tongue and didn't say something, okay? Things that happened in his presence and he allowed them to happen. The traditions that Muhammad laid down, those are a part of Sharia law. There are, let me keep reading, then I'll explain to you the three main parts of Sharia law. Article 6, citizens are to pay allegiance to the king in accordance with the Holy Quran and the tradition of the Prophet, in submission and obedience, in times of ease and difficulty, fortune and adversity. Government in Saudi Arabia derives power from the Holy Quran and the Prophet's tradition. Government in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is based on the premise of justice, consultation, and equality in accordance with the Islamic Sharia. Article 23, the state protects Islam. It implements its Sharia. It orders people to do right and shun evil. It fulfills the duty regarding God's call. Now listen to this. This one's almost funny. Article 26. The state protects human rights in accordance with the Islamic Sharia. What that means is we're going to protect you Muslims from hearing the gospel of Jesus Christ. Your human rights demand that we not allow Christian churches to exist. Did you know there's no Christian church in Saudi Arabia? Not one. Do you know why? Because as Muhammad lay dying, one of his last instructions was, do not allow two religions to remain on the Arabian Peninsula. And his followers said, okay, all Jews and Christians, you're either converting or you're leaving, but your churches and your mosques, or rather your synagogues, they're done. All right? That's the tradition that they're speaking of in the Saudi Arabian constitution. All right? When we come back from this break, I'm going to read to you from the 4 main schools of Islamic judicial thought on exactly what is to be done with an apostate, a Muslim who leaves his Islamic faith. You're not going to want to miss this. Don't go away.
You have 2 choices. I mean, you can try to raise your children by design, or you will raise them by default. There are no perfect parents. We're going to get it wrong sometimes. If we have a plan, we've got a better chance of getting it right in the long run.
There is something deep within the heart of every human being that longs for parental acceptance and approval. When does a boy become a man?
Get a group of guys around and ask them that question.
I don't think there's a certain age. Some men stay boys their whole life.
I would say, 16, 18 years old.
Wow, that's a good question.
When they get bar mitzvah?
Well, I think when he has a child. So I just became at 56, 56 years old.
Without the power of the Holy Spirit changing us and giving us power over our sin, we can't hope to be the dads that our kids need us to be.
It took me 14 years to write it. 4 rewrites, countless edits. I poured my heart and soul into Dragon Slayers. At points, a very inspiring and painful book to write. I encourage you to go to our website and look at the reviews that we have gotten from readers of this book, and then avail yourself. It's an allegory, and I promise you, you'll be inspired.